Good evening, everyone. Thank you all very much for joining us again. You know, before I greet everyone, I'm listening to these powerful fighters here tonight. Give them a round of applause. Every single one, UNC warriors and patriots. And I'm thinking, what can I possibly come to say now after such firepower? And I remember many years ago when I had just started into politics, and I was on a political platform somewhere in Barataria, San Juan. And before me, many speakers. And Mervyn Assam, you remember Mervyn Assam? Powerful speaker himself. So Mervyn spoke. And when he's done, I turned to the person next to me and said, what am I going to say? He was so powerful. I can't do better than that. And the person said to me, your name is Kamla. Be calm. So tonight, after all the firepower, I will be calm. Let's congratulate Rodney Charles, MP Padarat, Senator Anil, MP Munilal. MP has introduced a new word that Anil built upon, the negligence part of it. But I think the government is very guilty of negligence, dereliction of duty. So we'll deal with some of those issues tonight. So thank you again. Let me thank our two chairpersons, Seema, Councillor, and Munifa, who sits on our national executive. Thank you for joining us. And many of you I see in the audience as the country continues to open up. It's good to see so many of you here with us tonight. So it's good to be back again talking with you. And within the short space of time when I last spoke to you, so much has happened. So much has happened. They say a day in politics is like a year. And with each day, this government is unraveling and unraveling and unraveling until they have now taken our country. Trinidad and Tobago is in crisis. That's where the Rowley government has taken us, in crisis after crisis. So much has happened. Murders, mayhem, child abuse, child neglect. And to top it off, as several others have spoken on it, you see a minister of government now accused of land grabbing, allegedly consorting with gang leaders, allegedly consorting with people involved in the drug trade. And this is where we've reached, and some more information will come. So let's thank Jayanti, Senator, last week for bringing that information to us. And one more proof do we need than that report to see that not only is this Rowley government allowing, but they're also encouraging and supporting criminals. Now, Anil spoke, Monila spoke, others spoke, making the point, you had this report since 2019 on Foster. What did you do with that report? You went ahead to promote him from senator to make him a member of parliament, elected by the people. You went ahead to make him a minister in your government. And you had that report. Dr. Milal told us, Captain Griffith said he gave the report to Rowley. He had the report. He cannot plead ignorance. And you remember once he talked about who have PIP? Well, look like Rowley get PIP. Because we're not hearing a word, man, not a word. So many things happening, the crisis in the country, and not a word from this man. So I want to tell you, if it is that Rowley government has plunged Trinidad and Tobago into a crisis and into crisis after crisis, the only one who can take you out of that crisis is the United National Congress. No other force in this country can do it. We have the support, we have the experience, we have the policies, we have the people, we have the brains, we have the ability, and we have the track record of your great party. Only the UNC can save Trinidad and Tobago at this time. So thank you, members, for sharing your issues with us. I will just deal with a few of them tonight. But first, let me remind you that only last week, the UNC celebrated our 33rd birthday, 33 years. Give our great party a round of applause. And throughout these 33 years, we have remained true to our founding principles enshrined in our Constitution. And these include to provide good government, to respect ethnic, cultural, and religious diversity, to eliminate all forms of discrimination, to nurture a society where advancement is based on merit and ability, to ensure a just and equitable distribution of state resources, to foster democracy in all spheres of national life, to struggle against dictators, to promote citizen involvement, to decentralize power and decision-making, to encourage creativity, productivity, and discipline, to facilitate a higher standard of living and individual happiness for all, to promote the political, social, and economic development of all the people of TNT. In addition to this, the UNC has done more for developing TNT than any other organization in our country. We look at the infrastructure. We look at our excellence in education for all. We look at the work done by Arnold Roberts in sports. All these facilities that we developed, built, not just to grow our youth and our sportsmen, but also to bring in money with sports tourism. We did that. Our facilities in the medical sector, the hospitals, the health centers, we had a great thing going, but somebody put God out of their mind, and some persons, and we got the result that we saw in 2020. So we have broken so many social barriers in the UNC and for our country. And I say again, the UNC is the only party that was able to achieve all of this. And why? Because of all of you. United, we will always conquer. I want to thank all of our loyal members for standing with the UNC and staying firm and strong. So let's talk about our children's violence report. Many of you have spoken of it. And we must never, ever forget it. We must never, ever let them sweep it under the carpet. Because this is something that is so dear to our party. And indeed, personally, very dear to me, the children of our country. That has always been our priority. Children first. Always, always, always. And so, whether it was the Children's Life Fund, for the years we were there, when we were in government, we took money out of our own salary packages and gave it to the Children's Life Fund. You remember that? Now you have children dying, children suffering, because they cannot seem to be able to find a way to help these children with Life Fund. Our laptop program, I was always proud. You know, we got praised. When I went up to the United Nations meetings, Rodney, you will remember when we were there, we met with then Secretary General Ban Ki-moon. You forgot to mention him. And he gave us great compliments because of the laptop initiative. We got great compliments. But Trinidad and Tobago was one of the only countries in the world, you know, in the world, that was carrying out the Millennium Development Goals with respect to education. Small Trinidad and Tobago, but great in heart and great in soul and great in spirit. So we have always held the children there. When it came to textbooks, Tim Gopi Singh will tell you how many textbooks we gave to children. It came to the school meals. This government has squashed all of those. And this bold-faced, brass-faced Lion Rowley will come to say that he never says stop laptop. I heard him saying something about there was some education expert who said it wasn't serving purpose. And the man so hypocritical to line up at the computer on the ground, as Anil told you, to say he giving out laptops. When every child in this country got a laptop from us, everybody. And our plan, our policy was to move to the primary schools, that we would give the tablets to the children there. We would have had a world-class education sector with world-class educated children. But they are so visionless because they don't care, you know. I think they really do not care. They don't care. They just care about themselves, their friends, their family, and their finances. So when under Rowley, they have turned our country into a hellish disaster. It used to be a beacon of light and protection for children, all of that gone. And that's why I say that really hurts us so much, because we always said children first. Remember my motto then, ours? Not a child must be left behind. Do you all remember that? Not a child must be left behind. And we did not leave the children, none. Placed them in schools, gave them the resources. And even then we had begun to do special testing for special children. You all may not realize how many children in this country have special needs. And that's why we begun all of the special testing for children, even for just a simple thing as wearing glasses. You say, child, don't say at the same child can't see properly. Those were the screening things that we were doing under this government. None of that is happening. And so last year in March, you all will remember the story of 5 boys who ran away from the authorities' care facility. According to a report that was laid in the Parliament, many of us have talked about it before, the former director of the Children's Authority, Nicola Harvey Mitchell, do you know who she is? She was a nominee to contest a seat for the PNM in one of the Port of Spain seats. She was a PNM nominee. She became the director of the Children's Authority. And you know what that report tells us? Laid in the Parliament of all places. So who wants to talk about, what is it, Rudy? High intelligence report or low intelligence report? Well, this is a real high-grade report laid in the Parliament last week. And in that report, they said this lady in charge of the Children's Authority, what did she do when those boys disappeared? She called a notorious gang leader named Anton Bombay Boney to find them. Can you imagine that? And could you believe that? That is beyond insane in my view. That is beyond shameful. 2 of those teenagers, one 15, one 16, were discovered after, they were? Murdered. God rest their souls. God rest their souls. And according to the report in the Sunday Express, titled House of Horrors, the Children's Authority, the same PNM nominee, Nicola Harvey Mitchell, she was to contest a seat in the general election. So what did you do? I think Anil mentioned it before, but you put your friend, you put your family, you put your, talk about Heliconia. The guy there in charge of that was a PNM councillor. Now they're masquerading like they're an NGO. And how can you seriously put the name of whatever it is you're going to do next week? How to what? How to land grab and get away with it? Are you for real? Are you serious? How to land grab and get away with it? And you have a minister, Cummins, I think, and Minister Becker's going down there with his former PNM councillor in charge of the Heliconia to go and tell people how to land grab and get away with it. Shame! Disgraceful! These people have absolutely no care for anything. And then those 2 ministers have nothing to do with lands. If they come to tell us now, oh, we're going to see about land tenure for farmers and so on. But where the minister who in charge of land for farmers? Where is Kazim? Isn't he the new lands minister? So what Miss Becker is going down there to do? Good girl, I always say, nice person. And what is this alleged land grabber himself, Foster, going there to do? How to land grab and get away with it in bold black letters. Shameless government, I tell you. So this same report, I'll come back to it. It also adds, investigators found an abusive and arbitrary environment at the CSC where private security officers with no training in dealing with children were allowed to control and discipline children. When children complained they were being abused, reports were biased towards the staff's version of events, and their reports were not taken seriously. You remember Senator Naked? Many times on the UNC platform and elsewhere, talked about the abuse of children. Nobody listened. We talked about it for years. Barry Paddard has raised this matter in the Parliament on numerous occasions. Nothing happened. But the report continues, I'll tell you. And quote, the fact that the residents were in the care of the state, and specifically the Child Support Center, makes the failure to analyze the files of the boys in a coordinated manner negligence, which resulted in the death of the 2 boys. This is shameful, a disgrace. And you know, this report with these very serious findings. JJ, can you believe? I see your mom is here with us tonight again. Can we welcome her? I'm always happy to see her. We missed you, moms. Welcome back to us. And so, this report, when did Miss Webster Roy get it? December last year. And which ministry does she work in? She is in the office of the Prime Minister. So the office of Keith Rowley and Ayanna Webster Roy got this report December last year. What did they do with the report? They hid the report. Tell nobody nothing, do nothing. What they say, hear no evil, see no evil. Comes 5 to 6 months later to drop it in the parliament. And then when MP Padarat asked questions and said, well, okay, you have this report. You had it so long. All these recommendations, what have you done? What have you done to implement any of the recommendations? The answer was, well, we're given so much $1 million to do this, that. The point is nothing. Hold it for 5 months to 6. Nothing was done with such a damaging report. Okay, somebody sent me a note. They said the Heliconia graphic was Photoshopped. It is not about land grabbing, but about land tenure. My points still hold. My points still hold. My points still hold. What is Cummins going to tell you about land tenure? He can't even show documents about which land he have or don't have. What is Ms. Beckers going to tell you about land tenure? So thank you for the heads up. But I'm still right in my comments to you here tonight. So back to this infamous children's homes report. So the holding from last year, you come 5 months, you can't tell us anything you do that you will implement, and they'll set up a task force, and how many weeks? They say 6 weeks, I think, Barry, was it 6 weeks here? Yeah? 6 weeks, they'll tell you what they're going to do. In the meantime, what's going on inside them? You know, even though they recommended certain homes be closed immediately, has not happened. Has not happened, still open. So what is going on there? That report, I will tell you, in that report, there are 307 pages. Do you know in that report, there were 267 instances of the word sexual being used with respect to abuse. And there were 286 instances of the word sex. So put the two together, sexual, 286. I'm sorry, 267. They always say me don't do maths on the platform. I'm good at languages, but you see, adding a thing, I need a little computer on the... So you can help me with it. 267 with the word sexual. And there were 286 with the word sex. So that's 245. Over 500 instances in this report where these words are being used. And you hold on to that report and you will not carry out, at least close the ones where the suspicions are, recommendations are made for the time being until you can do something further. And so the Prime Minister and Webster Roy did nothing. They sat on this horrendous, scandalous report relating to our children for months. Now, they want to make it public now with nothing to be done. But we need justice for those 2 boys who were found murdered. We need justice. We demand justice for the abused children. We demand justice and we want answers. What kind of society are we turning into when we just turn a blind eye to the murder of children? Well, I think Anil he gave us the answers where it came from. Despite the fact the report was complete in December, as I say, they held on to it, and so we can only conclude, this lady now wants to come and cry crocodile tears. She's in tears. I don't want tears, madam. I want justice for the children who have been abused. We want action. So stay home and cry and let somebody do the job who can do the job. Just go. This is scandalous, and it's a dereliction of duty because we are dealing with the most vulnerable in our country. We are talking about our children. So, madam, stay home and cry, I repeat, and get somebody who could do the job. Just go, and all of you should just go. All should go. They should go. Murder and mayhem in the country. Murder and mayhem, and Heinz Bunilal told us what he said. Oh gosh, right. Okay. I will say that, I'll leave that for Anil. Anil could talk about that. So, murders and mayhem, and this clown, today is there with press briefing. I didn't really listen to it, but I got some little notes and I heard you. I think you dealt with him well. You pung him down to the ground. Heinz must go. He must go. And the thing is, this man, Hines, I think this is really another scandalous, shameful, tells the parliament that victims of sexual assault and of rape, that they profit in. It's a shame. You want to tell me any victim of rape, any victim of sexual offense will collude with the criminal, with the offender? That's what you come in to tell the parliament, man? That is what you come in to tell the country? Well, I think that's beyond sick. Beyond sick, and that's why I say, for that and many other reasons, Hines must go. He must go. He must go. Well, I'm coming to him just now. Don't worry. So these serious crimes he's talking about. And therefore, every time he speaks now, he has nothing to say about how they will deal with the crime. Nothing, absolutely nothing. They have no policies and programs. And during our time, you remember, you talked, I think MP Munila talked about how we got all these illegal guns. In fact, we got help from the United Nations. They brought a special kind of machine here based on our asking and working to destroy, when we collected the illegal guns, for them to be destroyed. You remember that, Brother Charles? You helped us with the UN to get that facility. And this is a man, when he was in opposition, running up and down the country, condemning the then government, our government. This is what he said in 2012. If the government cannot deal with crime, then the government itself is a part of the problem. If the government cannot deal with crime, then the government itself is part of the problem. So today you had 7 years, Rowley, and you and your ministers are all parts of the problem. You cannot solve it. So much so you have a report on one of your people, as I said before, and you didn't say, hold on, wait, pause for a cause. You went and put the man as an MP and made him a minister. Promoted him. You have been chair of the National Security Council. He loves to boast of that, You realize every time he speaks, he says, well, I am the chair of the National Security Council. But when it really matters, where are you? I told you before he get pipped, the man get pipped, he will not speak. In spite of all these atrocities, not a word from the Prime Minister of this country in such a time of crisis. Over 3,000 people have lost their lives under your watch, man. Over 3,000. And what is your answer? You send that clown Hines. I think that fella failed in every ministry they ever put him in. And in school, Anil is telling me. And in school. Look at the murders there. Look at the graph. Every time the PNM is in power, crime goes up. The crime goes right up. Escalates every single time. The evidence is there. According to your own words, you cannot deal with crime. And so you and your government, you're all part of this problem. And tonight I tell you, under the UNC, both times when we were in government, under Mr. Pandey, and when I was there as your Prime Minister, this was the only time that serious crimes, murders, actually went down over the term of office. So in 1994, before Mr. Pandey's government with all of us came into office, we inherited the murder rate from the PNM, 143. The UNC brought it down to 93. In 2009, before my watch, our watch, the UNC inherited a murder rate from the PNM was 509. We were able to bring it down to 352 in our first 2 years in office. I was in both governments, and I know it can be done. We can bring down the crime. What did we do? We appointed competent ministers, not the incompetent clowns like Hines and so on. I would never appoint someone like Fitzgerald Hines. Never. We appointed people like Brigadier Sandy, Captain Gary Griffith, competent and experienced persons. They were there as ministers of national security. On top of that, we had policies, as I said, implemented policies to work on bringing the crime down. And I always said, you have to have a holistic approach in the fight against crime. It cannot just be that you go and try and take illegal guns off the streets, as I told us today, because you cannot do it. You've been there 7 years. Have you brought in any illegal guns? You're too busy running down the legal guns. Too busy running down legal guns and report and all kinds of things happening that you can't bring in any illegal guns. That's your only fight? Your only policy, your only program to fight it? No, no, no. Holistic approach. You have to fight it from, first of all, from the prevention aspect. And this is where it's upraising and upbringing and nurturing of our children is of such vital importance. You start from then, prevention. So you don't wait till you detect the crime, well, oh God, but you have a problem with detection too. I see somebody boasting they have solved a few murders. I really don't know. Today, so they solved some murders and so on. Over 3,000 murders in a little country like this. Detection. When you finish with detection, you know what you have to do? Okay, we find out somebody died, murdered, sorry. What's your next step? Conviction. That's the courthouse, well, the court system is so bogged down. And I'll tell you what a judgment tonight, you know why? That Faris Al-Rawi is one of the biggest, dunsiest lawyers we've ever had. And I'll come back to that in a moment. I'll come back to it. And so, after detection, conviction, and then there's still something to do, you know. So first you have prevention methods. Then something happens, detection comes after it happens. So prevention before, we try to do things to prevent it. And we could give you details, we've shared it before. Detection, go to courthouse, conviction, and you still have to work rehabilitation. Rehabilitation, because we are all human beings. You've served your time. We have to have policies and strategies for rehabilitation. So our programs worked. We were able to bring the crime down, as all the numbers will continue to show. That is the evidence. And don't come and ask me for evidence. It is there for, but all those who have eyes to see will see the evidence is there in black and white. So let's talk about courthouse now. Courthouse. Let's talk about the court system in this country and to see how it is that this PNM takes care of its own. What is the word, Arnold? Cosa Nostra? Cosa Nostra is a mafiosa government you have. Mafiosa government. There's a very disturbing matter I want to raise with you now. It involves a court judgment dated 18th March 2022, just a short while ago, this year. 18 March 2022, a judgment by the Honorable Mr. Justice Mohammed. Now, I have to take you back because the judgment concerns things that happened prior to March of this year. On the eve of the general elections in 2010, jobs were given to 3 people. This is what the court judgment is about. One of them was Mr. Ashton Ford. You all remember him? A former General Secretary of the PNM. They appointed him on the eve of the general election in 2010 as an attaché to the High Commission in London. Plum job again, PNM friends and family and so on. The second person they appointed was Elvin Edwards. He was a former PNM mayor of Arima. They appointed him as an attaché to the High Commission in Canada. And the third person, Andrea Chambers Wilson. Do you know who she is? She's a daughter of former Prime Minister George Chambers. She was appointed as attaché to the United Nations in New York. So all these 3 PNM bigwigs, what do you call them? Hefes, that's the word? Oligarchs. Or PNM, in all these 3 high commissions. And when did it happen? On the eve of the 2010 general elections. That's important to remember. This is very important. After we won the election in May 2010, we changed up those persons. Because that is the convention. When a new government takes place, you move all the others and you put your own appointees. Ronnie Child knows that. Soon after we lost the election, what happened? When did they move you out? All had to resign, all. One time. All. And so, it was a custom, that is the practice, that's the convention for these persons to demit office, leave office on the change of government. They were hired, you must remember, and why that is so is because they were hired based on hand picking. It's not like you advertise for them and they go through a process and they're hired. Handpick. The positions were never advertised. They served at the pleasure of the sitting government. Do you understand what that means? They serve at the pleasure of a sitting government. Happens all the time. And therefore, when that government is no longer there, you serve at the, you're no longer, you are dismissed at pleasure. That's what they say in the law, dismissed at pleasure. So around June 2010, so remember we came into government May of 2010. In June, my government indicated to 3 persons that their services were no longer required. They were terminated. On 10th June 2014, so 2010 terminated. 10th June 2014, the 3 of them decided to sue the government in the High Court for breach of contract. The then government, we were in government in 2014, we filed an appearance, entered an appearance in the matter, giving notice that the government intends to challenge the claim brought by these 3 persons. On the 30th of January 2015, the government filed a defense on behalf of the government through the Office of the Attorney General, and that was when we were still there. That defense was thereafter amended March 2015 before we left office. Take the timeline. It is very important. My government had all intention of defending the state from the court matter brought by Ford and the other 2 persons, because we knew that there was a good and successful defense against this claim. However, when Farris came in as AG, when the government changed, that same crooked Farris, who got fired, he has all these matters being investigated against him. Crooked Farris Alwari, I call him. The matter was still ongoing in the courts. Witness statements had to be filed by the claimants, Ford and Chambers and the other person, Elvin Edwards. And they had to file witness statements to prove their claim. The Attorney General, still then, Farris Alwari, he would have been required to file witness statements to defend the claim on your behalf, taxpayers' behalf, against them. I have a copy of the judgment here with me. The judge stated at paragraph 6 of the judgment that witness statements were filed by the claimants, Ford and Edwards. So it is disturbing and alarming, but again, it's not surprising. Farris, as AG, and the lawyers of the AG's office did not file any witness statements. No witness statements, none whatsoever. Was this done on purpose? No statements filed, so you have no evidence on behalf of the government and the taxpayers in this matter. The P&M government filed no evidence to defend the claim. After we had filed a defense, the P&M government did not file a single witness statement. Not one, sell out. And it doesn't end there. The trial was held on the 15th May 2019. Who was the AG? Farris Alwari. The judge in the judgment reported to TNT that the AG office did not appear in the matter and was not represented. So they did not file witness statements, and they didn't even go to court to defend the matter. They were not represented. The taxpayers, the state, the AG's office, they were not represented in the courthouse. And you know what happens? Well, they threw the case, obviously. If you have nothing against the claim, you throw away the case. That's what you did. The court had no choice but to take the evidence of Ford and Edwards in the matter. And no matter how faulty that may have been, how good our defense was, didn't count, because we had no witness statements. We did not appear. We filed no submissions. When I say we, you, the taxpayers, the lawyers on behalf of you did not represent you in this matter. The government provided no evidence. They did not show up in the courthouse on the day. They didn't know with, submissions, legal submissions. That is a total dereliction of duty. That may well be misbehavior in public office. And it may well be. It's not the first time we've seen this type of behavior. It's not the first time where they continue to favor friends and withdraw cases and claims because they did not defend the claim. Ashton, Ford, and Edwards, you know how much money the court awarded them? $2.65 million. And that will count with interest and damages and so on. Interest, sorry. $2.65 million. It does not end there, you know. Do you know who was a lawyer representing Ford and Edwards? Take a guess. The personal attorney of the Honorable Prime Minister, Kwame. Personal friend and lawyer of the Prime Minister, Kwame. So that this was a win by default in the court. No witness statements, no submissions, no appearance on the date of the hearing. So they go through this $2.65 million plus interest. So PNM versus PNM. So PNM obviously won. TNT lost. I informed that when Faris, upon coming into power, directed this particular brief be returned from the lawyers representing the state. Remember I told you in our government, we had lawyers representing the AG's office and the taxpayers. When Faris came into office, he told them, return the brief. Return the brief. But then he did not appoint any other lawyers to do it. And nobody from the AG's office went to represent, even though there was a name on record. When you look at the pleadings, some lawyer from the AG's office. Nobody came. Nobody cared. No person. So his friend helping friend through the courts. And as I say, there will be others like this I'll share with you. But will the AG's office now appeal this matter on behalf of your taxpayers' dollars? We wait to see. Total dereliction of duty. Remember the AV drilling matter? When the arbitration went before wherever and it was determined to pay millions to this AV drilling, the lawyer, the senior counsel representing the government, represented Petrotrain, well, the successor company to Petrotrain, headed by whom? The same Kwame. The lawyer, Deborah Peake, said, hey, take it to the court. Ask the court to strike down this arbitration award because there was good evidence. They did not take it. Millions of dollars, friends, family, and financiers. And then you remember, when it comes to people who deserve justice and compensation, this wicked and evil government, rowdy government, they will fight you down tooth and nail. I want you to remember recently, children who were mistreated at a home, they were burned with cigarettes, they were abused. It was a horrific case. And you know, I was very disturbed when that case went to court. They went and they sued the AG for damages. They were able to win in the court, these children, through their guardians' parents. They were awarded $200,000 in damages. I'm glad for them, but guess what? It doesn't repair the damage. Do you know what Faris did? He appealed the case, but he wouldn't go for higher court for the AV drilling arbitration. Let's see what he does in this matter of Ford and Edwards and others against the AG on the attached jobs and so on. He appealed that. He appealed that, poor children. And now we get this report telling us about the abuse and horror taking place at these homes. So he appealed that. So PNM friends, they get away. This case, 2.6 million and many others. And don't forget there are several, excuse me, several others like these. The one relating to AV drilling. Malcolm Jones. You remember Malcolm Jones? Then there is this latest one now. I read it over the weekend. Schoon. You remember Schoon with the pleasure boat issue? I'm reading that they went to court and the court struck down some kind of a warrant. But you know what I'm told? Again, the state did not appear and made no representation. The state did not appear, meaning the government, did not appear in the matter. The Newsday article, Judge quashes police warrants in Adrian Schoon party probe. This is reported in the matter. Remember, Faris again was deeply involved with phone calls and so on. This was the son of PNM Minister Gopi Schoon, Ocean Pelican scandal. This time Schoon is suing the state. So guess what's happening? I read what the article says. Rahim gave his decision as a judge in the absence of submissions or a defense from the JP or the Solicitor General. Again, absence of submissions or a defense from the government. Again, they had a deadline of Thursday to respond to Schoon's lawsuit, and they failed and are neglected so to do. Dereliction of duty. In his order, Rahim noted the two parties had been served with proceedings, but failed to attend court on any of the occasions in the matter. Any time the matter was called to lead evidence and mix up, they never came. Dereliction of duty, misbehavior in public office, you call it what it is. But again, friends and family, another matter of the sort. The Sultan is under the AG's office. Why did the Sultan or representatives did not attend court? Why no representative of the AG and therefore yours of the state of the taxpayer did not go to court? And this matter is thrown out. Was it because this is the son of a minister? We have to ask these questions. What is interesting, the warrant that was under question was to get the cell phone of Mr. Schoon. To get the cell phone, to be able to get phone records. Yes, phone. And we heard reports that on the night, it is alleged that Mr. Schoon called Ferris. Do you all remember that? He called Ferris. Called Ferris. If the court now, yes, it was logged in a police report in a station. So now the court sets aside the warrant that evidence from the cell phone will not be able to be used in the court. So is this again another case of friends and family helping your friends Cosa Nostra? Is this another example of this? So, as I said before, it's a mafioso government with their Cosa Nostra code. And this it is where every time it's one of their own. They said it. They take, the P&M takes care of their own. Don't forget Malcolm Jones, I said it before. Following the pattern, same with Malcolm Jones' scandal. That matter was withdrawn by the Rowley P&M when my government sued Jones to recover $1 billion of your dollars. When they came into office, what did they do? Withdrew the matter. Moving along, Ken Julian and ETEC. Farris withdrew the matter against Ken Julian and the P&M board of ETEC. My government sued Julian and ETEC to recover $35 million of your tax money from the failed bamboo investment deal. The matter went all the way to the British Council and we won the case. But when the Rowley government came, they withdrew the matter. Did not pursue it. Can you imagine that? So these are several, and there'll be many more. Time will not permit us to go through all of them. But here it is where you're using your position to aid and abet your friends and your family and your financiers in the courts of law. In the courts of law. And so I'm asking you again, are you going to appeal the decision with Ashton Ford and Mr. Edwards with respect to the judgment of Justice Rahim? And then we have the police investigation into Foster Cummins. I wouldn't say much more about that because we made heavy weather out of this matter, except to say we got some further information. So I just have some questions to ask based on the further information. Dealing with that special branch report Janti shared with us last week, reference 105/4/2, bracket T, :57, 2019. Questions based on that report. It is alleged that PSL and CEL have been awarded several contracts through HDC for the upkeep of its HDC vacant properties located in Couva and Chaguanas. Secondly, it is alleged PSL and CEL have both employed one Kida Hercules as a subcontractor for several sites in the Couva area, although he is not the owner of a registered business. 3, it is alleged Hercules is reportedly a reputed drug dealer as well as a leader of a gang known as a Railway Road Gang. Are these things true, Foster? I call upon you to answer. Are these things true? It is alleged that Kida Hercules runs a brisk cocaine, guns, and ammunition trade on behalf of the said Foster Cummins. Is that true, Foster? Tell us if that's true. Tell us. It's alleged that Foster is the Kida Hercules person, is alleged, is in charge of several gangs situated in Couva, Point Lisas area. Is that true? It is also alleged that some of the business of selling cocaine, guns, and ammunition is transacted through Club Deja Vu in Couva. Is this also true? It is alleged that Minister Cummins has a connection with this club. Is that true? It is also alleged that Cader Hercules is sent as enforcer to acquire state lands on behalf of Foster Cummins. Is that true? It is alleged the current owners or occupiers are offered a peppercorn rate to vacate lands, and if they refuse, thuggery and harassment is used to remove them. Is this true, Foster? It is alleged that no member of the TTPS assigned to the Coover station can touch Foster Cummins because they stand the risk of being transferred. Is that true? It is further alleged that raids on the gangs situated on the railway road Coover are not successful because they get tipped off. Is that true? Remember you told me tip it off is a crime some time ago, yeah? Is that true? It is also alleged that Cader Hercules uses a local government vehicle with blue lights to transport guns and ammunition to buyers. Is that true? Does Foster know a person called Big Shane? Do you know him, Foster? An employee of the Coover Tabaki Talpower Regional Corporation. And that he drives the vehicle, that same local government vehicle, and delivers. Is that true? Does Foster know a Mr. Dirk Williams, who is also an alleged subcontractor for PICAL? And is he allegedly involved in illegal transactions? It is simply unimaginable, unfathomable, that given these revelations, that Cummins can still be holding his positions without any explanations. When we raised it, when Ishmael raised it right here, he came and he used the anthem. Remember, he said every creed and race finds an equal place and bring evidence. Well, Shanti brought evidence. Yeah. Camille come and make one long story, whatever. Nonsense. All of that. And you have all of this. And you cannot get anything making sense from anyone in national security, from the Prime Minister, from the Minister of National, and from Foster himself. And he was promoted, yes, and Rowley promoted him. I want to tell you, well, the amount of whistleblowing now, here Rodney begging for whistles to land up in his mailbox. A lot of whistles. And then they want to blame the whistleblower and blame us where the leak and who leaked it and so on. I think Mulilal put it nicely, more leaked than Wassa, is that what he said? A lot of people are coming forward because people are totally disgusted and fed up with this incompetent, evil government. People are totally fed up. But again, I would never have tolerated ministers like that. Anil knows that. When allegation was made, Anil came. He said, Prime Minister, I will step down and clear my name. He did that. He went to court and cleared his name. Never would have tolerated, but then, you know, this is, I say, Cosa Nostra, mafioso government. They keep each other's secrets. Rowley boasted on the platform. Do we have the clip, please? Yes, the code of secrecy. But can we continue? And when you get it? You found it? Well, I'll continue, and when we get to replay it for you. So you have here now credit card Camille, WPC, under investigation. We have Faris needing to answer the Integrity Commission. Also, he has to answer the TTPS about that car transferred to his friend, Kewal Singh. And no records of anything. By the way, Acting Commissioner of Police Jacob, what has happened with that probe that we wrote to you about? First, you said you were waiting on me to tell you who is some lady who Faris used as an agent to go to the license office. So I've told you clearly I don't know the person. It is Faris who said, hey, this lady, I sent her with a letter to transfer the vehicle. So what has happened since then with that investigation? Well, let's see the code. You'll have the code, Rowley and his secrecy code.
A code, a mafiosi code. We keep each other's secret. It's only when you break rank, you go there and expose us, and for that, we're going to kill you politically. It's the code of the Cosa Nostra. As long as we stay together, we will survive together. And we agree not to breach the code of secrecy. A code of mafia.
Yeah, yes. So you have the others as well, as I said, WPC credit card, Camille, Faris about a car, and many other matters. You have Stuart Young's former stepdaughter arrested for possession of marijuana and cocaine and firearms. So is a code of secrecy extended to all his friends and family, finances. At the same time this is happening, you have cabinet ministers recusing themselves over 210 times for the cabinet. Never happened in the history of this country. 210 recusals and more. And why? Because of a conflict of interest. Each time they recuse themselves is because somebody going and make money. Some family going and make money 210 times. They stand to benefit. This has never happened before. But again, Rowley doesn't care that a member of his cabinet is under police investigation for alleged misuse of public funds and association with a known drug dealer. So, Minister Cummins, we wait to hear from you on some of these further bits of information we've got. Now, the Auditor General has put out her report, their department has put out their latest report, I think it was last week in the Parliament, Taka? Last week, Friday in Parliament. And it is a very frightening report. I know time is against us, but just to let you know that the level of debt has escalated and gone way out of whack. That report is for the fiscal year ended September 2021, last year, okay? They closed the year off, auditor did the audits. And when we looked at the report, a very disturbing picture of the state of our economy, concerns about the failure of several government ministries to account for millions of dollars they've been spending. That account is the bank account of the Consolidated Fund. In September 2015, that will be when we were last there, the overdraft was $33.4 billion. Do you know how much it is now on that 2021 report? $42.6 billion. In their 6 years, they've taken it from $33.4 billion to $42.6 billion. You know what that means? This government is bankrupt. The overdraft is when you don't have money, you borrow, you go to the bank and you get an overdraft. So they've taken your overdraft to $42.2 billion. As I said, when we were last there, 33 billion, they've gone to 42 billion. When we look at the public sector debt, we know the government's biggest economic failure, they have created no new revenue streams, no new money coming in, nothing. And when we look at this, they have sabotaged sport and medical tourism plans, I mentioned it before. They fail to maintain the various sport, educational, hospital facilities, because the way they deal with running a country is to borrow, sell off state assets like fire sales, raid the HSF, and tax. That's the way they get money. They're worse than pipers. That's how they're getting money to run the country. Borrow, sell off state assets, and I think Barry mentioned about some sale of some TSTT assets, if I'm not mistaken. Raid the HSF, tax. So their wild borrowing has brought this public debt. That is your debt, understand it, Don't think it's something in a book somewhere, it's abstract from you. It is your debt. That is your money. They've brought that to TT $141 billion. You are owing, yes, you, citizens of this country, $141 billion based on the borrowings of this wicked spendthrift government. $141 billion as of September 2021. When we come this year, we'll see how much more that has gone. So that, the Auditor General cautioned that this figure does not include the millions owed to public servants. So it's 141 billion and counting. All these wage negotiations they have not completed. I don't think they've completed one wage negotiation. Is that true? Huh? Oh, they're busy in courthouse, yes. they will not settle these. We settled, I said, over 143 wage negotiations when we were in office. We did that. And so $141.8 billion in debt. On top of that, they have to pay charges on account of the debt. So the money that they're borrowing, do you know what's going on right now? The money that they're borrowing is just to pay debt. So you're borrowing more and more and more, and you have to pay more and more debt, but you can't use the money for development. You can't use the money to build schools. You can't use the money to buy laptops. You can't use the money to buy medicines. To develop infrastructure. No. You just keep borrowing. I say it's worse than pipers. Borrowing to pay loans, to pay the debt, to pay the loans. And there were more things in this audit report, which we'll deal with on another time, where ministries are spending millions, but they fail to account to the Auditor General to show the invoices, to show the contracts, to show the documents, to prove that this money was actually going where. But the one that struck me was when it came to COVID relief. And I'll have to leave that for another time, as Mr. Jack Warner used to say, not tonight, another night, with the COVID relief through regional corporations. And I want to tell you, I am proud of the UNC corporations. Because the UNC corporations showed very clearly that they could account for the monies that was given to them to spend. Take a bow, UNC councillors, UNC corporations. And when you come to look at the Arima Borough Corporation, Port of Spain, Point Fortin, the P&M corporations, the auditor said that they failed to provide documentation requested for tens of thousands they spent on laptops and other things for saying it was COVID relief. So I think we can stand UNC and proud tonight of our performance at the local government. As I close, I say again, I am UNC and proud. We have begun to cement our legacy in the history and the firmament of Trinidad and Tobago. After 33 years, we are more united than ever before, stronger than ever before. The UNC will continue to take the fight to this wicked and evil PNM regime, the Rowley PNM government, in Parliament, outside the Parliament, in communities, on the airwaves, radio, newspapers, TV, social media. And remember, victory will soon be ours. A brighter day is right around the corner. The sun will rise again. I bless you and thank you very much.